Well, now I already built my website using HTML to give it the structure or the markup of my website. I've also used CSS to add some styling or some makeup to my website. At the same time, I added some spice of JavaScript just to make my websites interactive so that I can click on a button, have some loading indicators, which just to make it interactive so that when I click something happens, Now, I feel confident that I'm a web developer, but that's not enough. Because for me to build large applications or large scale applications, I need to be able to write some components which are reusable and easily maintainable. And to achieve this, I have to use frameworks. Now, frameworks, when you talk about frameworks, we have three things coming into our mind. One, React. Number two, we have Angular. Three, we have what we call Vue. Now, I have to choose in between the three of these, just one framework that I want to start with because, it's going to be hard for me to learn all the free frameworks together. And beyond that, we have other frameworks which are already coming up like Servlet, Remix. Now, in my case, I want to choose Vue. Why? Because Vue is easy to learn, easy to get started with, and also it's popular just like React. Even though React is on the top, then Vue comes close to React. And it has been gaining popularity in the recent years. Now, the reason why I'm choosing Vue doesn't mean I can't choose React or Angular. I'm just choosing Vue because I love it and it's easy to learn. Good news is that once you understand one of these frameworks, how frameworks work behind the scenes and the concepts, it's going to be easier for you to move from one framework to another. For example, move from Vue and jump into React. Why? Because these frameworks, they all share the concepts, more like learning a language, let's say PHP or JavaScript, and then when you move to Python, the only thing that changes is syntax, but the concepts like functions, variables, classes remain the same. So you can pick any framework, call it React, Vue, or Angular. Trust me, when you want to jump to another one, it becomes even much easier, and you'll find that the learning curve for new framework is now even sliced by 3/4. Now, I want to introduce us to Vue. I'm going to show you how to install Vue, how to add styling to your Vue project using Tailwind CSS, and I'm going to show you how you can use icons, that is Lucide Vue icons, which are open source and free for use. By the end of this video, you shall be having a Vue project installed and ready and waiting for you to start building the components, writing the components, and just having a robust application which is easy to maintain, easily scalable, and just amazing. So my name is Omolo, and this is Osego Codes. So if you are a new viewer or you are a returning viewer who haven't subscribed before, kindly consider subscribing so that I can continue getting the motivation to release more videos again and again. So see you in the code. Now, every framework, Vue, React, Angular, Svelte, Remix, they all have their documentation, and that is in a website. So Vue.js is no different because it has its own documentation. If you visit Vue.js.org, you'll be able to read the documentation, how to install, how to migration, why Vue, its features, the partners, and everything, Yeah. So go to Vue.js.org to learn more in the documentation. So in this video, I want us to get started with Vue, like I mentioned. So we need to install Vue. We're going to then set up what we call Tailwind CSS, and we're going to set up what we call Lucide Vue Icons. So what I'll do, I'm in the documentation here because I want to show you the step I use to set up a new application. It's because I go through the documentation. So let's click on Get Started. So if you click on Get Started, from here you can see what is Vue and everything. And then coming down, you can just go to the next, let's say Get Started. So Get Started here shows you how you can start a Vue application, and in this case you can choose the node manager or the node package manager that you want to use. In this case, we have npm, we have pnpm, we have yarn, and we have burn. In my case, I want us to use pnpm because that is what I've been using and that is what I have installed, and it's also faster compared to npm and yarn. So to do this, all I need to do is click on pnpm, and then that will give me the command that I need to paste to my terminal to help me start up with Vue. Now, I'm going to do this on my terminal. So I'll click on my terminal right here, and then that should start my terminal. From here, all I need is to navigate to the page or directory where I want to install my project. So usually my projects are on my desktop, cd desktop, and then I can just list the items. Then I want to change it further into a directory called practice. So inside here is where I want to install my Vue project. So I'm going to make a make directory here and call it Vue.js guide. Let's have some, we call spaces here. Exactly. Then I can now cd into this guide like that, and then from here is where now I need to paste the command that is provided on the official website. So just click on copy, and that should copy that command. If I come here, because I'm in a Linux, I simply press Ctrl Shift and V to paste it, then press enter. So that will do some things behind the scenes, and you will see what will happen. From here we are going to like pick on some options what we want. Now you see we have the prompt, like they are prompting us for some responses. So what is the project name? The project name, I can type it as Vue project or anything, but since I'm already in the directory called Vue.js guide, I'll just do like a full stop there to tell it I want you to install the project in the current directory. So press start. The package name, you don't have to give it, it will do it automatically, but you can just give it a name like Vue.js guide. Then do you want to use TypeScript? I'll just say no. DX support, no. Okay, now we have add Vue router for single page application development. Now think of it, your application will have more pages like home page, login page, about page, products page. So if your application is meant to have more pages, then you want to add Vue router. So Vue router, you can add it during the installation, or you can wait and add it after it is installed. But in my case, I usually love to install it during installation, because with that a lot of work is done for me in the background. For example, configure it globally and injecting it in the Vue instance. So in this case, what I want to do, I want to say yes to that. Then Pinia for state management. So here Pinia is like the modern way of managing state in Vue. Traditionally they were using Vuex, but you can use Pinia. So if you want Pinia also configured for you during installation behind the scenes, just click on yes. Of course I'll need it. Then VTest for unit testing. If you need VTest for unit testing, you can just tell it yes or no. In this case it's a no, because I just want to give us a guide on how to install Vue, so no. And then end-to-end testing also no for now. And then add ESLint for code quality. So this one I need it because I want to be able to ensure that my code is quality and also it is well formatted. So in this case I will say yes. And then add printer for code formatting. So for code formatting means that every time I add a new code, it will take care of the indentations, and that's to ensure that my code is well indented so that I can easily read it. So I'll just click on yes. So after which that is done. Now the next thing I want to do is, install, then format the code, and then run pnpm dev. So in this case, I want to, before I do pnpm install, I want to open this folder in my VS Code. So how do I do that? To open a folder to open VS Code in the current directory, you just need to type code space then period. To tell it, open VS Code in the current folder. So press enter. So that will actually start up our VS Code application or IDE. So let's give it time as our IDE is being started. Yes, so what we have here, my IDE is starting here, and so once it's initialized so well, you can see all the files that have already been bootstrapped for me for my Vue application. Remember, we are here, Vue.js guide. So what I can do, I can actually zoom in to make this codes look clearly to you. Let me zoom in again. That is good. Fantastic. So let me close this. Let me close this. Also, let me close. Fantastic. So I want to just open my terminal. So I'll just click on View. Then if I click on View, I can click on terminal here. So it's like I'm just doing the same thing I was doing in my Ubuntu terminal here, but now in the context of my VS Code, right? Now I'll do the same thing. The next step is to type what we call pnpm install. So I will come here and just type pnpm install. So pnpm install will install all the packages that we need for our application to run. And where will it read? It will read this in our package.json. So if you click on package.json, this one already outlines what will be installed. So let's see what will be installed. So remember we said we wanted Pinia and we wanted Vue router. Now, and then Vue is installed because that is the application that we want to work with. So npm install will install Pinia, will install Vue, will install Vue router, and again it will also install these dev dependencies, including ESLint, Vite.js plugin, Prettier, and all that which is Vite. So just press enter, and then depending on your internet connection, this one should install Vue project quick. Now that is going on. So after that is done, we're going to do npm format. So npm format, remember we had installed what we call Prettier. So once we have everything installed, or once you write your code at any point and then you see like the code is not well formatted, when you type npm format, that will always format your code to adhere to the Prettier guidelines. Okay, now let's see what happens right here. So almost, yep, so that is it. It will install those packages for us. Fantastic. Now, as you can see, we already have what we call all the plugins or the dependencies already installed. The next thing, remember, we want to do is npm format. So let me clear the terminal and just do npm run format. So to see what format does, if you come to your package.json, you see what happens. It actually runs Prettier to actually make our code look well formatted, well indented, and everything. So press enter and wait for it to do the magic. Now you see what happens. It's formatting everything. Fantastic. And then the last step is now for us to run our app in the development mode. So to do that, we run npm run dev. So just coming here again, clear, and then type npm run dev. Press enter. So that will start our application in dev mode. So in dev mode, we'll see what happens. So it will give us a URL, which when we click should actually show us the preview of what we have on our browser. So we have it running locally at localhost port 5173. So I can click on Control and then click on that to open it and see what we have on our browser. Now, this is it. This is what we have here. You see we have a lot of things like components. So something good about Vue, you can actually implement the components that we have here. When you come down here, there's this button here. When you click on this thing that look like a sniper or a pinpoint, when you hover around, you can always tell what we have here. For example, this is a app.vue. Where do you find it? We find it in the src app.vue. If you come to this, you can see all this is in line number 8, column 5 of app.vue. If you come here, we can see that this is the welcome item component. Okay. Now, once we have our application running locally, let me take you and show you the folder structure of Vue. Going back to our terminal, you see we have the red modules. These are the packages that were installed, and then we have the public. So here is where your what we call your assets, such as the images, can stay here, can be stored here. And then we have the src. Src is now where like the folder that contains all the logic of the code. Now we have assets. Assets here will contain your stylings. Maybe it can also contain your images and videos. Then we have components. Remember, frameworks, the concept behind frameworks is to make your application into components. So it's like components, several components put together to build an entire application. So as you can see, we have hello world component, we have the welcome view component, we have the welcome item component. So think of components as the building blocks of your entire application. Then we have the router. So the router here is where like you define all your routes. For example, as you can see right here, we have the home route. The home route here is where we actually define the routes for your application. So the routes for the application, you just give it the path, the name, and then the component itself. And these components are actually imported on top here. So you have to import the component itself. Okay, coming to store. Now in the store here is where we now actually define the state of our application, like manage data, manage the state. For example, as a user logged in, what is the information of the current logged in user, like the data that is to be shared across components. We define that in the store, and remember we set it to use Pinia. Also on the views, think of views as the pages of your application. For example, we have about view, home view. If I go back to our application in the browser, you see that we have two views here. We have what we call the home view, and then we have the about view. You see what changes. This is the about view, this is the home view. Good. Also, we have main.js. Main.js, think of it as the entry point of your application. Here is where you, for example, set the global injection of the router and the store. For example, you see we import Pinia here, and then we tell our application to use Pinia. We import the router and tell our application use the router. So it means you can access the router anywhere, in any component or in any view. And then, of course, we now mount the app to a template or a div that has an ID of app. Okay, I will tell you, this is more of like React, where you have create root component. How you inject your application to in React is more of like Vue here. You just tell it take the app and mount it to a div called app, and you can see the app itself. We have it here, app because you create app, and then we can now inject or set them to be used globally using the app.use. So the app here is like an ID of app. So when we come to our index.html, you will see that we have a div container here that is empty, but it has an ID of app. Now, remember, during build process, all your files, all your components, views, the JavaScript are all bundled or built into index.html, which will be stored in a dist folder, which you can see right now because we haven't built our project. Okay, fantastic. Then package.json, just a list or a definition of all the dependencies for your application, dev dependencies, and the scripts. Then you have the preacher configuration and everything here. Now what I want to do, I want to go to our app. Let's go to our main.js, which is the entry point of our application. That is main.js here. So main.js, you see it imports app, which is the main component. Now if I go to the app itself, like that, you see what we have right here. We have an hello world component being imported. Okay, now I just want to delete everything we have right here. For example, let me remove the hello world component, and then I want to remove the headers that we have here. I also want to remove the router view. Router view can be good, let me just leave it there, but because we are not using what we call the router link, so I'll remove the router link, so that we have something like that. And of course, our template usually wants at least one outer component, which I can give it to be a div like that, and then just have our router view right inside the div, and that should solve the problem we have right here. And of course, I need to close that. Okay, great. So we have our code running again. Also, these styles are now not needed because we are going to set Tailwind CSS. I'm removing all the styles that we have here. Good. Also coming to our main.js, we are importing main.css. So I can go to main.css and also just remove all the styles we have here, because I'm going to give it the directives for Tailwind that we are going to use. So which means the best.css is also now useless. Here we can actually just delete that. Delete the best.css. Up to that point, let's see what we have on our browser. Good. You see we have nothing at all. The stylings are gone and everything. Now I want to remove every other thing that we have there. So coming back, let's go and see what we have in the home view. Home view was simply calling the welcome view, the app view. Yeah, here we have the router view. So let's go to home view. Coming back to our router component, let's see in our router here. Let's open our router, which is the index.js. You see the home page is the home view. So I want to change the home view to something else. So I'm going to go to the home view component, click on that, take me to the definition of home view. in the home view, we are having the welcome component. So I want to create our own component. Just delete what we have there, and then say something like a h1 right here. Just in the h1, a h1. Sorry. Good. And I can say something like, this is the start of our application. Good. Fantastic. Now if I go back, you see this is what we have. No styling, just the normal application that we have there. Now the next thing we want to do is to install Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS, remember, our application uses Vite for the build or for the bundling of our application during build. So I will go to the official website. In short, what I'm telling you, you can always visit the official documentation sites for these frameworks or components to get a clear usage of it. So just coming here, just click tailwindcss.com, and that should take me to the website of tailwindcss.com. And just really quick, I need to just click on get started. So if I click on get started, I see what we have there. This should take to me a page where I can now see how to install this Tailwind CSS in my application, which is Vue. So in this case, you can use Tailwind CLI. Also, we have using post CSS. We have framework guides. Now in this case, remember, Vue is a framework, Vite is a framework, right? Now I'll click on framework guides. So look here, look for your Vue application, look for React, look for anything that you're working on. And if you check clearly here, we don't have React, we don't have Vue. Why? Because React and Vue are being installed using Vite. So in this case, if I use Vite, Vite will work for me. So let me click on Vite and see what we have. Now we have, the first thing you need to do is to create your project, right? But in our case, you already have React project created. And then see into my project. In our application, we are already in our project, right? Now I need to skip all this and just come here. Now we have npm install Tailwind CSS as dev dependencies, post CSS, and auto prefixer. So I'll just copy this line here, copy that, and come to my terminal. I'll just create a new session here, and then I'll paste that. Ctrl+Shift+V, but instead we are not using npm, we are using p&pm. So just add a p and then enter that. So while that is happening, we go back and copy the next command from the site. So coming here, I'll just copy npx tailwind init. Okay, so I will come back to my IDE, and once this is done, I'm going to paste that new command and we see what it does. Good. Great, that is done. So next I want to copy what we already have here, and because it is p&pm, just change this to p&px and press enter. And that, let's see what it does. So this one will install Tailwind CSS and its peer dependencies, and then generate your tailwind.config.js and also generate post css.config.js. Now if we come back, once our command is done running, we need to see tailwind.config.css. As you can see here, we have tailwind.config.js and also we have post css.config.js. So that is where we are going to actually configure our Tailwind, right? Coming back, now we need to go to our tailwind.config.js and tell it the type of content that it needs to target. So I'll copy this that we have here, Ctrl+C, okay? And just come back to Tailwind config, and inside the content that we're targeting, just paste what I've copied. Okay, but this will not work, and I'll tell you why. You see, we only have JS, TS, JSX, and TSX. I'll tell you why it can't work. Just hold on a minute. Good. So I just continue. So once we have that, the next thing is for us to add Tailwind directives in our base CSS. In this case, we are going to use the CSS file that we have. So I'll copy everything here and come back to our CSS file, which is main.css, and just copy what we have there, because that is what we are using in the main.css. You see that? So that is what you need to copy. Just copy it there, leave it the way it is. Right. Coming back, the next thing we want to do is to run p&pm run dev. So it simply means stop your server if it was running and then restart it for it to pick the changes. So I come here, click on that, and then stop my server, pressing Ctrl+C, and then I can just restart it again. Good. Now that will start my server again, and then now I'm going to try to add the utility classes on my web page to see if they will pick up, and it won't pick up until I tell you what happens. Now coming back to our application, so you see what we have here. This is the start of our application. You can see that there's already some default configuration styling that has been added, like the paddings have been removed, the margins is 0. Now let me go back here and go to my home view, and I want to add the utility classes. Remember Tailwind, you simply style using the utility classes. So I'll come here and just say class equals to, let's say, text is for Excel. Text should be blue. Let's say a saturation of 600, and then say font, let's give it bold. Okay, so we expect that our text should be blue, bold, and the size of for Excel. So let me refresh. You see there's nothing that happens, or nothing changes. Why? Because in our content, the official documentation doesn't tell you to add the Vue extension. Coming back to Tailwind config.js here, you need to add one more extension here, that is Vue. Why? Because Vue components have a .vue extension, and so by adding Vue here, you're telling it to also target the Vue components. So if you come back to application again, you see Viola. We have everything styled. We can even go ahead and tell it in our home view. We can tell it maybe text should be center. Let's see what we have, and that is what we have right there. It is the start of our application. Next thing I want to do is I want to also include icons, like I mentioned. To include the icons, let me just change this title here to something else. Let's say I want to give it a name like Osego Codes. Osego Codes, right? And then we want to add some icon to Osego Codes. So, and I mentioned that we're going to use Lucide Vue Icons. Simple. Always make the documentation of your friend. So come here and just search for Lucide Vue Icons. Okay, click on that. So this will take you to the site or the documentation website for Lucide Vue. Now, once you are here, you see we have the packages, like you can use pnpm, yarn, npm, ban. In our case, I'm using pnpm. So I'm just going to copy this the way it is and take it back to my code here. In the new session that we had for installing, I'll just copy everything the way it is here, paste, press enter. While it's installing, we can see the process of using it. So look at this. Lucide is built on yes module blah blah blah, and then how to use it? You simply import the icon you want to use, and then use it as a tag, as a custom tag right here. And then how do you even know which icons are available or anything? You come to your icons here, and that will show you all the icons that we have that you can use with the Lucide Vue next. So let me click on that icons, and then it loads these icons. So I can click on any icon here. Let's say I want to click on aperture, right? So if I click on aperture, then you see we have the icon here, which is photography. Then I want to see it in action. Click on see in action. If you click in see in action, you can then choose the framework. In this case, we are using Vue. So you can see all I need to do is to import aperture from Lucide Vue next. So let's do that. So it is installed. So coming here in my script section here, I can do import, then from Lucide Vue next, and what I mean importing is aperture. Let's see what we have. Copy that the way it is, and coming back here, I just want to paste it right here, paste aperture, and then I can just come here and just maybe add a div. I want everything to be inside here. Then we can have aperture. Of course, that is it. I already have the styling there. That is the power of what we call the copilot. Paste that. Okay. If I come back to my Vue application, Let's refresh and see what happens. Good. Look at that. We have the icon right there, and then we have my name here, and that is it. So basically that is how you add your icons. You install Tailwind CSS for the styling, and that is how you start your Vue application, and from there you can go ahead and build anything that you want. All right, so thank you for watching the video. I hope to see you in another video. So bye bye guys. That was Otego Codes signing out.